So the big question of the day that you mentioned is that we are winding down the season for the Hawks. And at the beginning of the season, there was so much excitement. The minute the news hit that Dejounte Murray was being traded from the Spurs to the Hawks, like the city was just on fire.
Yes.
But here we are, winding the season down, and that combination of the backcourt that we just thought was going to stand up to any backcourt in the NBA just hasn't quite turned out or panned out, at least so far, to be what we thought they were going to be. So
Right.
now we have a new coach in Quin Snyder who has a different mindset about offense that he's actually verbalized these last couple of days on what he needs to see in that offense. But after going after Dejounte Murray the way he did and giving up what the Hawks gave up for him, is this a situation where Snyder is going to have to find a way to make it work for the two of them? Or low key, is he going to have to decide which of these guys is truly someone you want to build around going forward?
Wow. That is a really good question. But I think that just given the gravity of how they acquired Dejounte Murray, you giving up 3 first-round picks, and then you talking about 1 year and potentially trading him in that offseason going into his last year of his contract. I don't know if that's a good look as an organization because we all know that Travis Schlenk was the one who wasn't necessarily all on board with this trade. So I think that those are some of the behind the scenes folks, Nick Wrestler, that pushed this thing through, Landry Fields. So they are going to say, hey, Quinn, we need you to bring your expertise to this situation and make this thing work. Because I don't think that it's going to come down to a scenario where they have to choose either or. I think that's a little extreme. I think there have to be some extreme circumstances in order to happen in order for that to work. Maybe Trae Young start going crazy or acting a nut, and they like, okay, all right, he request a trade or something like that. I don't see that happening. But yeah, I think Quin Snyder. I would think that was one of the reasons why he was brought in with 21 games to go to say, hey, man, see what's going on, diagnose the issues, and see what we have to subtract in order to make this work. Because
Yeah.
that backcourt, we have to at least make it work for the next 2 years,
Yeah.
and it's from a contractual standpoint, and from a draft capital standpoint.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that before you kind of throw the baby out with the bathwater with those two, I truly believe you have to
I like
get
that.
better
Yeah.
surrounding partners, right? Like your
Yes.
surrounding cast is not fit for what Quinn Snyder wants to do.
Yeah.
That's one of the reasons that the Hawks extended Bogey, because in Quinn Snyder's offense, he's looking for that guy who can catch and shoot. He's looking for that guy who
Gotta
even,
have it.
yeah, and he's looking for a guy maybe to complement Trae, and because Trae's pretty much the only one on that team who can dribble, shoot the three. So I think before you can go anywhere with what happens with Trae and what happens with DeJounte, you're going to have to get some more weapons on offense. You're going to have to get some more sharpshooters, and hopefully AJ Griffin gets back to form, and that'll be an weapon coming off the bench for you. But I think also you've got to decide what you're going to do with your front court. And until you can do that, I think ultimately speaking, you really can't make a decision on your backcourt. I don't think there's enough. To me, Jarvis, they don't really have a strong enough 9-man rotation. And that's really the other piece there. Like
Yeah.
we're seeing the bench mob get back to who they used to be, but they're not quite there yet. So once we have a full 9-man rotation, once we have the kind of players like Quinn Snyder used to have, like a Rudy Gobert type, if you
Come on.
will, a Donovan Mitchell type, like getting more in that space a little bit, if you will, then we can have some conversation. But I think right now it's just kind of, it's too soon to tell. It's too soon to tell. But I will tell you this piece of what I do like about what Quinn Snyder said, and that is he liked what the communication was on the back end of the game Sunday against the Grizzlies, right?
Yeah.
And I would tend to agree with him. I thought that the defense stepped up a little bit more in that game. And one of the things I was thinking about with them as well is if indeed the defense actually stepped up, then you're not going to see things like random players like David Roddy taking coast to coast, right?
Right.
Or
Yeah.
Tyus Jones
Exactly.
out
Yeah.
here like blowing things out of control. Or, and I'm going to say it the way I mean it, the dude who scored 25 points in the second quarter of
Yeah.
Saturday night's game
No need to
versus the
say his
Pacers.
name.
I said it that way on
When you say
purpose
his name,
because
yeah.
it's
So what?
always just random dudes.
It's
I mean, you
randos.
just plug it. Exactly. It's always just a random dude that you can plug in and put him anywhere. You can put him at the top of the key. You can put him on the side of the perimeter, and he is just going to catch, shoot, catch, shoot, catch, shoot. So that to me is my question. We already know that from the Cleveland Cavaliers perspective, it could be anybody. We have seen Ricky Rubio go off from three. We know Donovan Mitchell is capable of it as well. So, and then they've got all of these kind of like names, these extra X factors. Who in the world can be the X factor for the Hawks tonight?
Wow. I'm gonna go ahead and say it, and I might be wrong, and I don't care if I am. DeAndre Hunter. Like, I need DeAndre to be the defensive player of the year that he was coming out of college.
Yeah.
Like, this is the guy that you were brought in to be a two-way guy. Yeah, like, he has some inconsistency shooting the rock. Yeah, I get that. That's going to happen. But when it comes to defensively, like, that has to be brought each and every night.
Yeah.
And if you can't give me that each and every night, I don't need to have you in my starting lineup.
Yeah.
Because that's what starters do. There are certain aspects of your game that you're going to be able to bring consistently. And you kind of ride the wave when it comes to other things. Because if you're not known as a shooter, yeah, I know you're going to struggle shooting a three. But if you are known as a guy who can be a two-way player, a solid two-way player, with defense being your best asset, like that has to be brought every night.
Yes.
Like no excuses unless you're hurt or you're dealing with some injuries. And if you are, you don't, like I said, you don't need to be in that starting lineup. So yeah, for me, it has to be DeAndre Hunter because it just hasn't been clicking on that side of the court. On that side of the basketball for me. With my eyes and what I've seen, I don't think DeAndre Hunter has been playing up to the level that he should be when it comes to the defensive side of the basketball.
Yeah, and I can get with that because if he's not going to give you anything offensively, which he really isn't, then be the perimeter, the wing defender that we need you to be. Because that's how dude, whoever random dude is tonight,
turn that into points. You know what I'm saying?
Right, exactly. Because if you can at least affect the shot of that random dude, then hopefully you'll get the long rebound and not the Cavaliers. And then that'll contribute to your fast break points, right? Because the Hawks actually had a decent number of fast break points compared to the Grizzlies. They were really about even, right? So when you look at it from that perspective, I wholeheartedly agree with you turning that into points. And the other thing is, Jarvis, turnovers, because the Hawks sometimes do a pretty decent job in getting other teams to turn the ball over. They then protect the ball. And like you said, that's what gets them more points. And Jarvis, may I just add to what you said with DeAndre Hunter? If you can just get in there, because we know Clint Capella and Onyeka Okongwu are just doing a bang-up job. So I'm kind of like a game of spades. I'm going to take that one, and I'm going to say we got two books here. Because you know what else needs to be not a book and a possible, but two books? John Collins. Because if you can just give a little bit more, I know. I know. Why was I Captain Obvious? I know.
No, it's fine. Like, I'm glad you said it because people like, man, I know Jarvis gonna say John Collins. No, she said it this time.
I was about to say, you know what? I said it for family, okay? I said it for family. So come for me. But the reason I said that is because listen, when you're at that four, Jarvis, to me, that four is a very interesting position, right? Because you have fours that are more like Onyeka Okongwu, that power forward who's going to go in there and make sure that he's going to swat everything moving in the paint. Then you've got those kinds of fours who are very agile and they can get out and to the perimeter and make sure that they affect shots, or they can get out there because they're quick, they're agile, they can get out there and affect those mid-range jumpers.
Right.
That's kind of what I'm looking for. Like, we're going to need to see some of that if the Hawks expect to beat the Cavaliers. And not just that, Jarvis, but this is a run where you and I know they're going up to Chicago. The Bulls are smelling blood right now when it comes to the Hawks and the Raptors. So you've got to start getting those pieces in place and being that on a consistent basis. Jarvis already told you, so that's 3 times I told you need to do it consistently in order to really maybe pull away and get some sneak wins out of there, right? Maybe you sneak a win at Chicago. Maybe you sneak a win at the Celtics. But at a minimum in this 7-game run, Jarvis, at this point, you've got to start that run in the right place. And this is where you start it. Forget Sunday. It's over and done with. Take these 7 as your sample size and move yourself forward, because that's how you're going to, at a minute, at least, Jarvis, stay in that 8th spot, because right now you're actually in danger of getting into the 10th spot if you're not careful.
Yeah, and we know what the Cleveland Cavaliers are bringing down low. So yeah, we're gonna need that double O and CC combination to come through like good kinfolk tonight.
Exactly, because the last time they played, Jarrett Allen was questionable and it didn't matter. And Jarrett Allen is questionable again, and it probably won't matter. So yeah, you are absolutely right. But in the meantime, in between time, of course, everybody, including all of ATL, is still talking about Lamar Jackson.
Yes.
Because right now it's like a tug of war, Jarvis. You got Lamar Jackson saying, okay, bye to be more. And then you got John Harbaugh saying, no, we love Lamar. We took a chance on him 5 years ago. Let the Locked On Sports Today folks give you some of their reaction to the biggest news out there in the NFL. You know what to do. After you take a look or listen to ATL Day Ones, make sure you check out Locked On Sports Today. They've got their version of For the Culture. They call it Take of the Day, and they'll give you any and every take, not just across football, but really any sport. But I suspect that might be the top of the order for Locked On. So again, check them out on YouTube or wherever you download your podcasts.